Imagine you're learning a language. It doesn't matter if it's English or any other language. You want to improve, you want to speak it, but you don't know how or where to begin. And that is what I'm gonna teach you. I'm Mark, I'm 21, I'm a Czech student, and I'm a bilingual. I know how to speak fluently Czech and I know how to speak fluently German. Right now, I'm trying to improve my English and I'm learning a little bit of Vietnamese. I know the struggle when you learn, for example, I don't know, like for 2 or 3 hours, you remember some sentences or words, but the next day you know nothing. That's pretty normal, alright? You just need to improve, you just need to learn more and repeat it, repeat it, repeat it. But what's the best way to actually learn a language? There are many ways. Now I'm just going to tell you my simple tips on how to actually improve your language and how to get better at it, how to get better at speaking, and how to actually communicate in that language. And I'm going to also tell you how I learned English, because the way I speak now is not because of school. Even though there are many ways or many techniques how to learn a language, these are probably my favorite ones. The first step is listening to music or watching even films in that language. It doesn't matter if you understand it or if you don't understand it, just basically listen to it, alright? After a month, a week, or even a day, you might actually remember some words and you might actually, realize how it sounds. That's probably the most important thing. You need to know how the language sounds. For example, me, when I learned English, the first thing that I did was listening to English music, for example, Eminem and that stuff, and watching some films in English. For example, Simpsons, Big Bang Theory, anything. All right. It doesn't matter if you are a beginner, fluent, or if you have any certificate like B1, B2, or C1, you can still get better. Even though English is my third language, I still managed to learn it to a pretty decent level. I mean, in my eyes, I make some mistakes, but that's normal, I guess. So listening to music, watching films, trying to, understand at least a little bit and noticing how it sounds, all right? Different dialects, different people. I mean, for example, in the US, you speak a little bit different in Texas than, for example, in Boston. That's what I saw in the films. I've never been to America, but I saw it in the films. The Texas accent was a little bit different than in the rest of US. But yeah, listening to the films, listening to music is actually the best way how to start with it. The second step is actually learning simple phrases, all right? You don't have to learn anything extremely, hard. You just can learn the basics like yes, no, hi, hello, goodbye, how are you doing, what's your name, and so on. Just the simple phrases, all right, to begin somewhere. Right now you already know how the language sounds, so the second step is to actually learn the words, some simple words, all right? And talk. You have to talk a lot, all right? It doesn't matter if you're talking to someone, you can also talk to yourself. It might sound a little bit weird, but imagine that we talk to ourselves every day in our native language, or we also have thoughts, all right? Just remember the last time you talked to yourself, all right? You were thinking about something and then you realized, oh, I'm talking to myself. You maybe even realized it right now that you're talking to yourself or that you talked to yourself like an hour or a day ago. It's normal. Everybody talks to themselves. Try to talk to yourself in that language and you might actually see that you will improve, all right? For example, I'm talking to myself right now in Vietnamese. I'm not gonna say right now anything because it's bad right now, but I'm still learning. But the way that you talk to yourself is actually gonna help you to learn it, all right? The more you do it, the better you will get, all right? It's the same like going to the gym. The more or the often you go to the gym, the more times you visit the gym, the more you lift, the more you run, the better you get. It's the same. The more you speak, the more you try to speak, and the more you learn, the better you will get. It's that simple. The next tip I will give you is to download a Duolingo app or any other app where you can learn a language. It doesn't have to be, a paid app. It just has to be an app where you can actually look at the progress you have done if you don't have a notebook or any like calendar where you can notice it. And Duolingo will actually send you sometimes a bunch of notifications that you have to come back. All right, it's pretty annoying sometimes, but it helps me a lot learning Vietnamese right now. So for example, downloading Duolingo might be actually a good choice. The next tip is, and probably the final step that I would like to mention, is forcing yourself to speak it. Not to yourself, but to someone else. Don't try only to speak to yourself, try to find someone who actually speaks that language. It doesn't matter if it's a tutor, If it's, for example, even going on Omegle, or in my case, for example, going to someone who speaks Vietnamese, for example, to a Vietnamese person, and try to, tell him that you're learning it and that you want to say something. All right, there's nothing wrong with it. In 99.9%, the person won't react any, aggressive or something. They will just say, most cases, which happened to me because I tried it already, the worst thing that will happen is that they will correct you, or they will just say that you said something that doesn't make any sense. That's probably the worst thing that can happen, because I can imagine that you will say something totally different that you learned. So just learn something, try to tell it to yourself, speak to yourself, and then try to actually tell it to someone else. All right. For example, in my case, how I already said, a Vietnamese person. If you're learning, for example, English, which is learned probably in every school around the world right now, you can come to your teacher and ask him, "Hi, can I tell you a sentence, or can I actually, present you something, because I learned a way how to say a word, and I just want to, know your feedback, and I want to know how you would pronounce it different, or if you have any recommendations for it." Teachers also, in 99.9%, they won't react any negative, all right? They will listen to you, and you can tell them, all right? For example, you learn the phrase where you say, "I like bananas," and you say, "I like banana," all right? That's not bad. He will understand you because you learned it from YouTube or any other source. The worst thing that will happen is that he will correct you, or she. I don't know if you have a male teacher or a female teacher or anything else, but they will correct you and you will know a feedback. That's probably the worst thing that's going to happen. So speak it, don't be ashamed, and try to get better every day, all right? There is no end and there is no level where you can't get any better, even in your native language. Just imagine you open a dictionary, and I can guarantee when you open a dictionary, you don't know all the words in the dictionary in your mother language or your main language. For example, if I open right now a dictionary in Czech, I can guarantee you there will be at least one or more words that I have never seen. All right, that's normal. All right, in English, it happens more often than you might think. All right, because every day, even though I learn it every day, I'm trying to get better every day, there are still words that I don't know and that I will probably never use, because I use probably the most basic words that I know over and over and over again. All right, so don't be ashamed to speak it. For example, I had a good friend who tries to learn German, and he's actually improving a lot because he talks to me. All right, there's no shame to talk it, because the person that knows it better than you won't judge you for starting. Never. An expert will never judge you for starting. Never. All right. If he judges you or if he makes fun of you, it's just a bad person. All right. Don't talk to him. Probably never ever. If you don't want to pay a tutor, a teacher, or don't want to attend any classes, you can still open YouTube or look up any sources on the internet. You can find anything you want on the internet right now, which is actually, like a jackpot. All right, everything you need to know is on the internet. You can literally open up YouTube and look it up, how to speak Vietnamese. Or for example, if you're learning Chinese, a lot of people right now are learning Chinese. Not a lot, but I know 2 people who are learning Chinese right now. So if you want to learn a language, just open up YouTube. That's probably the best teacher that also taught me how to speak English. Even though it's not perfect, again, but it's still pretty decent, I think. Just open up YouTube, type there Vietnamese lessons for beginners, or English lessons for beginners, or I don't know, like Russian or Chinese lessons for beginners. It will always find you someone who teaches it on the internet and that explains it, all right? It will teach you simple phrases that you can use on a daily basis, and you don't have to struggle with actually open up a dictionary and learning it by yourself with a translator on Google, for example, or DeepL or something else, all right? Then there is a good source like ChatGPT. Everybody knows ChatGPT, but if you're not confident with the way that they teach it, for example, you learn it a different way. For example, you're learning, I don't know, Spanish, and the tutor on the YouTube is telling something different than your teacher, for example. You can open up DeepL and you will see different variations how the sentence can be said, or you can just open up ChatGPT. You can text in, how is this sentence said differently, or how can I say this differently? Is this sentence making sense, or is this sentence grammatically correct? It will always say yes, no, and it will tell you always the differences between those sentences. For example, you will have a sentence, I will say it in German, For example, ich mag Äpfel or ich liebe Äpfel. Both means that you like apples. One time you like them, one time you love them, because Liebe means love. All right. So you would just type in, all right, what's the difference between those two? Because probably almost the same sentence, but a different word. It will actually tell you the word. If you learn how to use AI and if you learn how to use translators, YouTube, and the internet, you're good to go. You don't need a tutor, anything. And that's also how I learned English, again. All right. And that's also a way how I'm gonna learn Vietnamese. So if you ask me in 3, 4, 5, 6 months, I probably could speak at least a little bit of Vietnamese, understand it at least a little bit, even though they speak a lot faster than I can even imagine, because I listen to them like at least 2 or 3 times a week. And it's, it's pretty fast right now. But let's see how it goes. Me, as a bilingual, it's still, I think, a little bit easier to learn a new language because I grew up with 2 languages, Czech and German. English somehow spawned just in my head. I don't know how. I remember myself actually learning English. And then, I remember the beginnings where I was like, how the hell am I going to learn this language? And right now I'm also talking to a camera on YouTube, which is pretty crazy, all right? So there's always a way how to learn a language. There's always a way how to improve. You just got to have the right resources, all right? Never give up. Just learn it. Chill, relax. Everything's going to be good. It doesn't matter if you're studying only languages or if you're studying, for example, like anything else. There is still a way how to learn it. For example, math, there's also still a way how to learn it, all right? It doesn't matter what you're studying. You can find literally everything or anything on the internet. There is every time an AI bot, translator, or anyone on YouTube, even on Reddit, all right? I found also some, answers on Reddit, which is pretty crazy, to certain topics around math, biology, and that stuff, because some people struggle with it even before you, because the school system is almost teaching this, to 99% teaching the same topics every year. So there are still students in front of you who also had to learn it, and you can still find the answers on the internet, which is good, all right? So don't panic, chill, be relaxed. And if you have any struggles with learning a language, you can still visit my Instagram page, which might right now reach 50,000 followers, which is insane. A big thank you to everyone who followed. Also, if you're watching this right now and you are a follower of my Instagram account, also a big thank you for all the support that I get. And yeah, very grateful for you. And if you made it to this part of this video, again, big thank you. I hope that the language that you're studying right now or learning is gonna go fast into your head, and that you can speak it at least in 6 months, in a year, or in 2 years fluently, and that you can communicate in that language without any problems. So yeah, that's all for me. I hope you have a great day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.